Alright, so I got something kind of special for you guys today. A little project I've been working on over quarantine. Nothing fantastic. But I've been working on this here railroad spike knife. And you can see it's not finished yet. I want to leave as much of the hammer finish as I can, because I kind of like that, honestly. But I want to sand down this part of the blade, bevel it, sharpen it at least. It's very pointy the way it is. And actually, this part here, this was an accident. I just started forging it, and then this kind of started taking shape. So I'm like, cool. And then I drew it out a little more. I ground it, and I'm like, that's pretty good. And then I had to reshape the handle. It was much thicker than this, and this part kind of bent down more, so it had to fit awkwardly in your hand. But I like this much better. This is probably the most comfortable way to hold it. Or like this with your thumb on the other side of the blade, unless you want to hold it this way in ice pick. But for practical purposes, it's not very good. It's more of like if you want to slash with it, which I don't intend to do because it's a tool knife, not a combat knife. I'm not going to be making combat knives. All my knives are going to be tools. I mean, that said, you can use it any tool for crime if you really want to, but I'm not going to. I don't need a criminal record. So overall, I am pretty happy with the way the blade's turning out. This part, I think, looks pretty good, especially when compared to my first attempt, which I'll show you in a minute. It did not look good. And the handle is kind of thin, so I want to put handle scales on it, probably some basic wood ones. I'm not going to do anything fancy like G10 or micarta, just because I don't have those materials on hand. And even if I did, I'm not sure I'd want to run the risk of ruining or wasting them, because, let's be honest, this knife ain't that great anyway. But on the plus side, I left a little, I guess the pommel now, I left the pommel on it, so that way it doesn't slip out of your hands if you're swinging it, which I probably won't be doing anytime soon, just because it's, well, it's not very good the way it is, but I'm still really happy with it. A lot of fun to do. I actually got a video of me kind of working the metal and forging it a little bit, but problem was the cameraman was a 12-year-old who didn't know how to keep the camera steady and not zoom in on random things, so I don't think I'll upload it. But if you look at this piece of crap right here, this was my very first attempt ever at a knife, and well, you can see the difference. Like, first time, second time. This is a piece of garbage. This probably is too, but at least it's prettier. You can see the visible improvements, though, like just in the shape alone, never mind the temper. I'm still really glad I made this. This was a lot of fun to do. I did it with one of my friends, and it was a learning experience. We learned how not to make a knife, because it's really not a knife. And if you look, you can see it's crooked up here. The only reason that we left it that crooked was because when I was drawing this back out and forging it, I put this in just to see if I could reshape it, and then kind of said, screw it, and then didn't finish it. But the metal itself is like twisted. So again, railroad spike. You see the difference that, even just one attempt, because this was one attempt, this was my second attempt at like actually trying to blacksmith something, and the difference is huge. Like, I took a lot more care with this one, made sure it was straight, flat, and as smooth as I can get it on a little grinder. Once I get a belt sander, then this will become, well, this part of the blade anyway is going to become a lot shinier, because I'm going to polish it, sharpen it. It's not sharp at all. If I kept doing this and pressed it into my hand, then maybe, but I don't think I could actually cut myself if I tried. Not that I'm going to try too hard to do that. I generally try to avoid wounding myself in any way. It is quite pointy, though, so don't drop it. So again, overall, it's probably not great. I can't imagine the temper is very good, but it was a lot of fun to do. And if you look at this, by the way, if you know any blacksmiths and you can get them railroad spikes, these things are great for beginner projects or just simple projects like this. But the transformation from this to this, while it wasn't a very long project, and I guess I'm still working on it technically, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. If you ever get the chance to try forging anything, I'd recommend doing it. Or if you're interested, Forged in Fire, I often get asked that when people find out that I want to be a blacksmith, is do you watch Forged in Fire or Man at Arms, stuff like that. Or it's kind of like welding, right? No, it's not like welding. It's very different from welding. But sometimes we do weld. There's a big difference, though, between forging and welding. But overall, a lot of fun to do, and I'm really excited to see where it goes once I'm able to polish it a little bit and put an edge on it. And then who knows where I might go from there. Actually, I have this last railroad spike. I'm not sure why I got 3 of them, but I've got this third one, and I might do... I can take this and bend it down and then draw it out. I can make like a tomahawk or a hatchet, and then this can be like the hammer part. So you can, if you're fighting an armored opponent, which you wouldn't be, not in this day and age. We don't use plate armor anymore, not for combat anyway. But you could still have that hammer part. Or if you just need a hammer, but all you have is an axe, then this wouldn't be ideal, but you could probably make it work. So again, if you know any blacksmiths and you can find railroad spikes for them, they're great for simple projects, beginner projects, or even just practicing. And for this little pile of turds, I'm probably just gonna draw it out a lot more and then fold it over on itself, draw it out like how a katana would be forged. And katanas, regardless of what people say, were not folded 1,000 times. They didn't even have 1,000 layers of steel. Draw it out, fold it over, and draw it out again. So you fold it, it's got 2 layers, and then you fold it again, it's 4 layers, and so on and so forth. But they were not folded 1,000 times. This is bullshit. It didn't happen. It took way too long to do that. But I am thinking that I want to try Damascus for the first time, or forge welding with this, just because, like, there's not much I can do with the shape right now. And at least I'm not wasting something like this, which I'm much more proud of, and completely botching the Damascus part, because, like, that's hard. I've never done it before, and I'm probably going to ruin it. So at least I'm ruining an ugly piece of garbage instead of a comparatively pretty piece of garbage. Anyway, that's all I got for now. These black flies are getting kind of bad out here. But hopefully I'll actually get a video of me working the steel and forging something, and then I can upload that. But it's really hard to do that if it's just one person, because you got to watch the forge, make sure nothing lights on fire, make sure you don't leave your stock in there for too long. You start baking all the carbon out of it, then it's no good, and so on and so forth. But maybe if I can get someone to film it who isn't shaking the camera or zooming in randomly. Anyway, just wanted to, I guess not really an update if you haven't seen it before, but I wanted to show you what I've been working on during quarantine, because everyone's had these cool projects going. I've seen a lot of stuff on Reddit of people like making Noble 6 armor. Actually, I did see that, and it was really cool. So while this isn't nearly as impressive as some of the other stuff I've seen, I'm still very happy that I was able to make this in the first place. And even if it doesn't get any better than this, I'm still pretty happy with it. The shape, I think, is much more practical. The handle on this one is much more meaty, and I like the handle a little better just because it's thicker. But once you put handle scales on this one, well, those problems will be solved. Anyway, folks, that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I guess I won't see you in the next one, but you'll see me.